mes amis, hi guys, time for a collection update. Some new really cool pieces have come in, a couple are on their way out. Let me explain why and where this is all heading. I am near the tipping point where for one watch to come in, another needs to go out, as there's only so much money I want to tie into watches, and because too much becomes a drag to maintain, store and mainly enjoy. You might find that watching watch reviews videos every day and longing for something new all the time can prevent you from enjoying what you have. I realize that sometimes and almost feel apologetic opening my watch box, so beware guys. Also, it's a normal process to escalate from entry level to entry luxury to more luxurious and complicated pieces. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy your Seiko SKX just as much, as a good design never gets old and price isn't the only factor that matters. Is there a watch in particular that I look forward to try on this year? There are a few at the moment. 1. The Tudor Black Bay 58, a welcome refinement on the bulky Black Bay at a reasonable retail price. 2. The new Omega Speedmaster 300. This new ceramic wave dial is just killer, but I don't see myself paying retail on an Omega, so this might have to wait a year or two. 3. Rolex GMT Pepsi or the Hulk. If I happen to find one of those during the summer back home in Europe, I just might grab one as an investment that I can enjoy daily and possibly flip at a profit. 4. Maurice Lacroix Icon Automatic. Yup, it's a bit of a rip-off, but at the same time it's nice. I just want to check them out. Problem is, a good buddy of mine has a Royal Oak and really in Hong Kong, wearing anything that's a cheap version of something you might see on the wrists of people on the subway is not an ego booster. 5. The Seiko Green or Jade Sumo. This one should be available again from June. I don't have a Sumo, so it might be my final Seiko diver purchase, but I kinda have Seikos coming out of my ears, so I might not have the appetite for this one. Besides, the green thing is a trend and trends by definition don't last. Speaking of which, I've sold my SPB 053. It's gone to a friendly viewer of this channel all the way down to South Africa. What a cool trip for a super cool watch. I think it's gorgeous, but I felt that a couple of my other Seiko divers suit me better and I wanted to release some funding. I hope the new owner will enjoy the watch a lot. It's actually interesting and made me take a step back from certain watches which I find attractive but realize might not suit my lifestyle. Your money is best spent on watches with which you can maximize wrist time. That's the lesson here. So let's dive into the collection so far. If you want to discover any of those timepieces in details, please look into the video list on my channel, as I've reviewed them all at least once. I've tried to have some balance, have different types of watches, colors, functions, size and shapes, but it's all pretty classic, as I don't really like multicolored, skeletonized, wacky dial monstrosities. Now, first I have to say, living in Hong Kong, you kinda have to have something decent on the wrist. I like Seiko, Hamilton and all, but honestly, once released in the wild, most of them don't pack the same punch as a Rolex does. Here's my Rolex Explorer 2 16570 Polar Dial, which is by far the coolest and best value steel sport Rolex you can get now. I love the thinner, fixed steel bezel with sunray brushed finished and polished ring. You have a date and a GMT complication and the white dial pops, especially in the summer. This can easily be your only watch. It's a comfortable classic with a twist and a real steel compared to the GMT Master that runs the same movement, and it's probably more useful than the Submariner to most people. Should the Rolex be your first watch though? Well, that's a good question, because once you have a Rolex, do you still care for entry-level pieces? I didn't start there in my collection and had to work for mine, as in Europe, parents don't mark their kids' milestones like graduation with an expensive timepiece. Not like mine could have afforded it anyway. But if I had been given one of these, chances are I wouldn't have bought some of the cheaper watches I had. Which brings us to a good question. Should you hold off and save for a better watch rather than accumulate affordable pieces? It's easy to say in hindsight, of course. Like anyone starting any sort of collection, my brain first didn't fathom spending over $300 on a watch. And so the accumulation starts because just about anyone with a decent job can afford spending that amount every month on a timepiece, right? Quickly enough, you want to expand your horizons though. You move on to the $500 range and feel ecstatic. Then you start looking at Longines and Oris and that $1,000 to $3,000 bracket. And without fail, you will want your first Omega. And when you hold that piece, you realize pictures and videos don't do it justice and can't render the taste of luxury. Actually, I didn't precisely progress through this hobby by price level. It was more by taste. The first watch I grabbed, somehow by chance meeting let's say, was this Zeppelin automatic piece, which is not a bad way to start. You get a smooth sweep, generic Miyota movement, and that sought after German aesthetic in a watch that works with suits and jeans. It's not luxury, but it does look great with a blue shirt or suit, and it's fairly uncommon in my neck of the woods. Right after that, with some luck, I found this no-date Longines Legend Diver. Full set in great condition at a discount price, and decided it was worth the investment, as those have gained a lot of value since being discontinued for the date versions. It's again a great everyday piece, and really I could have been content with those two watches. At that point, I was watching a lot of urban gentry videos on YouTube and fell for those handsome Seikos, which I still love, which shows you that you can own $5,000 watches and still enjoy $300 ones. After all, they render the same service and to the untrained eye, probably look just as expensive from a distance. So I got the Saab 033, a real looker, perfect proportions, fire crystal, good power reserve and accuracy, great feeling on the wrist. Since the cheapest eBay seller for those happened to be here in Hong Kong, I soon after grabbed the cream version, Saab 035, equally nice. This one is probably going to my nephew to celebrate his birthday. Then of course I had to have an alpinist. All those three watches apparently have been discontinued and will forever be collectibles, because they packed so much quality for such a good price. If you have to pay $500 and up, then the whole purpose vanishes, and Seiko prices seem to gradually rise indeed on the new models. Staying with the enthusiastic recommendations of TGV on the Urban Gentry channel, I added the silver and gold Flightmasters, very brightly looking quartz chronographs, which also hold their value well. Between us, I never really wear them as quartz gives me allergies. My kids are likely to inherit those soon. The chronology escapes me a bit, but I think that's about the time when I went for my first Omega. And the choice was perhaps a bit left field, but I do love it to this day. It's this compact and modern Speedmaster racing. So many killer design details, and it leaves the Speedy Pro behind in terms of performance. But then again, the Moonwatch is a must-have, and I probably snagged mine brand new full set at the lowest point it reached last year, from a grey market seller right here in Hong Kong, even below Joma Shop prices. I see prices creeping back up now, so I feel great about this purchase of a classic. I absolutely love wearing and winding it. It's one of those watches that you just don't want to take off the wrist. How many absolutely perfectly designed things do you get to own in your life? This is one of them, and I can't recommend it enough. Just to clean up the Omega section here, Later on I found this used Aqua full set at a good price in top condition, and I just had to have this fantastic caliber in my collection. This is watch perfection, not just aesthetically, but also technically. In a world of constant magnetic threats, this is the timepiece you'll never need to worry about, especially since it also doesn't need to be serviced as often as most watches and has 150 meters of water resistance. Moving on to Hamilton, I really wanted to have a GMT piece. This is before I got my Rolex Explorer 2, of course. And I found a good deal on eBay for this Jazzmaster GMT, which has that world time look with the inner bezel controlled with the extra crown. The watch is superbly made and wears very flat. It's not a true GMT movement, but for the price it does the job. I don't wear it often, but I do like it. Lately I also added this khaki navy UTC, just to have one watch with big numerals and because I found the looks original. After all, if you can't have fun with your watch collection, then what's the point? Speaking of fun, who can live without a Bulova Accutron? This is the snorkel. Just look at that perfect sweep on this lovely dial. Much more affordable and less serious than Grand Seiko's Spring Drive. I'm totally lost in the chronology here, but it doesn't matter anymore. Let's talk about titanium for a minute. Seiko SOTC 055, Seiko Shogun, the Beauty and the Beast. Titanium, superbly polished. Dia shield coating for a silky smooth feel on the wrist. This is Seiko at its very best, and both are the missing link between Seiko and Grand Seiko. I heartily recommend these because they feel part of your skin. The Shogun might be the mightiest Seiko diver, but well under its price you can find many endearing designs in stainless steel. The classic of classics and uber affordable must-have SKX 007. This is the Japan-made version here. Next, the incredibly well-designed down to the very last details Samurai. Then you have the equally perfectly put together Mini Turtle Paddy edition. And then the stealth collectible Black Series Turtle. And my latest squeeze, coming in at well under $200, this larger two-tone SRPB 94, which fits and feels so good on my wrist. When it comes to divers, the Submariner is the classic, but Seiko is the master of designs, and this collection hopefully proves it. On the weekend and on holiday, they are ideal, reliable tools, and the choice is such that everyone should own at least one. And to wrap up with the Seiko segment here, a couple of funky pieces. One that everyone seems to love and want, this SNXJ 90, a lovely Datejust homage. Actually harder to find than a real thing. Then we have this rare IWC Ingenieur homage with lots of interesting textures on the dial. And finally, an equally unusual SARZ 005 with a motorbike rev counter look. I admit, these last two are a bit superfluous, but what the hell. And I wanted to finish with the cream of the crop, a watch that really represents my own taste and marks my first foray into high horology. It packs a caliber that took 3 years to achieve by the watchmaker's watchmaker, Jaeger-LeCoultre. This is my manual wind 2001 Reverso Grand Sport chronograph with retrograde minute register. It's unique, it's cool, it's me. Let me know in the comments what you like or don't like in my collection, what watches you want to buy next and why, and what would be your perfect one watch collection. In case you've kept track of what I've spent already, let's just say that I could have bought a pair of Daytonas instead. That's food for thought for those affected by the collecting bug. So narrow down what works for you, make sure you buy smart, and most importantly, enjoy what you have in your watch box. Speak to you in the next one.